A short and blunt message to start the day.
President Zelensky, Sky News, do you have a message for Vladimir Putin?
I'm here. I think this is very clear.
Unsurprisingly, Vladimir Putin did not go to Turkey to speak with Volodymyr Zelensky. The Kremlin conveyed at the last minute that Putin was not going to Istanbul. As late as this morning, it was not quite clear what the composition of the Russian delegation was even going to be. From what we can see, the level of the delegation looks no more than decorative. We will think about what to do next, what our next steps will be after the talks with President Erdogan. I think we will have a few hours for important talks, for very important decisions. Officially, Putin spent the day in the Kremlin, listening to reports from Russian bank representatives. The Kremlin officials who flew to Turkey are known for their extremely anti-Ukrainian statements. Among them, Vladimir Medinsky, who was part of the first negotiating delegation at the beginning of the war, and Igor Kostyukov, the head of Russia's intelligence board, who has been on US and European Union sanction lists for years. Regardless of the rather low level of representation of the Russian delegation, out of respect for President Trump and out of respect for the high-ranking Turkish delegation and President Erdogan, I will try to make the first steps toward de-escalation, the first steps toward ending the war. The Americans themselves indicated that the Istanbul negotiations were to be Putin's last chance. It seems that the significant downgrading of the meeting and the wriggling of Russian diplomats lay bare the Kremlin's approach to any and all talks.
Ukraine is ready to commit to a ceasefire and immediate negotiations. That's absolutely clear. The ball is now clearly in Russia's court. They have to explain what they are doing, why they are here or not, and with what team or whatever. But let's make sure that we all understand that the ball is in their court. Ukraine is wanting to start the negotiations as soon as possible. And as I said before, it is thanks to the Americans and President Trump that the deadlock has been broken.
Donald Trump himself commented on the situation on a flight to the Arab Emirates.
Nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. But we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying.
Will such a meeting happen anytime soon? It is doubtful. What is certain, however, is a new bundle of sanctions by Europe designed to hit Russian businesses. Europe may also be joined by America, as there is a growing talk in Washington of a new sanctions package. There is a strong movement in the US Senate, where a number of senators have declared that they are ready to introduce a sanctions bill, and the US administration is assuming that this will happen if Russia does not make a move. So far, the United States and Europe are looking at the issue in a similar way. While these diplomatic games are being played, the Kremlin is starting to gamble more and more recklessly in NATO airspace.
This is Estonian warship, Papa 6732. Your request will be denied.
This is footage of an attempt by an Estonian vessel to intercept a Russian ghost ship in the Baltic Sea. During the operations, a Russian fighter jet flew into Estonian airspace, performing maneuvers suggesting it was ready to open fire.
Russian Federation sent a fighter jet to check the situation. And this fighter jet violated the NATO territory close to 1 minute. This is something very new. So we need to understand that Russia has officially tied and connected itself to Russian shadow fleet. And also the NATO fighter stood up and went to inspect and check the Russian fighter.
Experts warned of a possible escalation in the Baltic Sea months ago. After a series of diversions, ships from Russia's shadow fleet damaged the underwater infrastructure in the Baltic. The appearance of a military fighter jet next to such a vessel officially links the Kremlin to the fleet it had denied. This shows that Moscow is taking yet another step toward escalation.